So there is yet more controversy around the Graham Hancock Ancient Apocalypse Netflix show, this time with an open letter from the Society for American Archaeology criticising the programme. You can see what my reaction is to the furore around the show in the recent Hidden History live stream, which is posted in the description below. Before I go into the contents of the letter, I'd like to add that Graham Hancock has strongly refuted the claims made within, and also wrote a letter himself to the Society of American Archaeology, but he was told that there was no further comment they were willing to make. So what did the letter say? Well, first of all, it was sent to Bella Bajaria, the head of global television for Netflix Incorporated, and also Rachel Korp, who's the chief executive officer at ITN, who were responsible for making the show. And it was sent by the president of the Society for American Archaeology, Daniel H. Sandweiss. So without further ado, let's get into the contents of the actual letter. So it says, I write this open letter to express the Society for American Archaeology's concern over the series Ancient Apocalypse, hosted by Graham Hancock, produced by ITM Productions and aired on Netflix beginning on November the 11th. This series publicly disparages archaeologists and devalues the archaeological profession on the basis of false claims and disinformation. I write to encourage you to correctly classify the genre of the show, to provide disclaimers about unfounded suppositions in the show, and ideally to balance the deleterious content in the show with scientifically accurate information about our human past. The Society for American Archaeology, SAA, is an international organisation that, since its founding in 1934, has been dedicated to research about the interpretation and protection of the archaeological heritage of the Americas. With more than 5,500 members, the SAA represents professional and advocational archaeologists, archaeology students in colleges and universities, and archaeologists working at tribal agencies, museums, government agencies, and the private sector. The SAA has members throughout the United States, as well as in many nations around the world. The SAA supports its members' work to understand humanity's past through ethically based scientific and humanistic investigation, to promote preservation of archaeological resources and cultural heritage through support of legislation and education, to create collaboration between the profession and descendant communities, and to assist professional growth. The members of the SAA champion archaeologists in their efforts to advance knowledge of and protect the past for society and to build a more just and equitable future of the profession. The effects of this show run directly counter to the purpose, mission, goals and vision of the SAA. We have three principal concerns with regard to Ancient Apocalypse. 1. The host of the series repeatedly and vigorously dismisses archaeologists and the practice of archaeology with aggressive rhetoric, willfully seeking to cause harm to our membership and our profession in the public eye. 2. Netflix identifies and advertises the series as a docu-series, a genre that implies its content is grounded in fact when the content of the show is based on false claims about archaeologists and archaeology. And 3, the letter also alleges that the theory presented in the show emboldens extremists and does injustice to indigenous peoples. So pausing there for a moment and giving you my thoughts on this. Point 1, I think, is a slam dunk for the Society for American Archaeology. The series does repeatedly and vigorously dismiss archaeologists and the practice of archaeology. Mainstream archaeology is mentioned and criticised on numerous occasions throughout the series. As to point 2, I don't think it's any business of the Society where and how Netflix chooses to advertise its shows and how it chooses to categorise them. And I think point 3 is shakier still and is a desperate reach for this letter. Anyway, on with the letter. Our efforts to combat pseudo-archaeology are not new. Archaeologists have published extensively on the flaws of unscientific theories and the dangers they pose, including several recent media interviews, opinion pieces, and social media posts addressing scientific content from this show. Popular television series such as Ancient Aliens on the History Channel have promoted false claims about the ancient past for many years. These claims frequently rob indigenous peoples of credit for their cultural heritage. However, Ancient Apocalypse is more harmful than Ancient Aliens. It not only disparages the cultures of indigenous peoples, but also carries the harm a step further by disparaging archaeologists. The combative tone of Graham Hancock damages the public's perception of archaeology. After more than a century of professional archaeological investigations, we find no archaeological evidence to support the existence of an advanced global Ice Age civilization of the kind Hancock suggests. archaeologists have investigated hundreds of Ice Age sites and published the results in rigorously reviewed journals. The assertion that the ancient apocalypse is a factual docuseries or documentary rather than entertainment with ideological goals is preposterous. If there were any credible evidence for a global Ice Age civilization of the kind Hancock suggests, archaeologists would investigate it and report their findings with rigour, according to the scientific methods, practices and theories of our discipline. If the evidence warranted scientific peer review, we would acquire funding to test it, publish our results and promote it in our own outreach materials. Contrary to Hancock's claims, archaeology does not willfully ignore credible evidence, nor does it seek to suppress it in a conspiratorial fashion. So let's pause there again for a second. Now, this is a stout defence of archaeology, as is to be expected from the organisation. But I think the suggestion that they're going into bat somehow for indigenous peoples and protecting the achievements of their cultures is again somewhat of a reach and is slightly disingenuous. The next portion of the letter goes in to make some quite serious allegations and accuses the documentary or docuseries, or whichever you prefer, of reinforcing some views which have been used to justify some of the worst regimes in history. Now, I'm not going to repeat that here. You can look up the letter for yourself, which I will post a link to in the description. Failing that, you can squint and read it on the screen for yourself. The letter concludes, "For these reasons, we call upon both Netflix and ITM Productions to remove any labels that state or imply that this series is a factual documentary or docuseries and reclassify this series as science fiction. We urge both Netflix and ITM Productions to add disclaimers to the series that its content is unfounded. We also request that Netflix develop a policy that balances such false narratives with the presentation of scientific documentaries and accurate reporting of the knowledge that archaeologists have generated and continue to generate every day." Now, as I said, my own view on the show is expressed in the recent live stream that I did on the channel, which I'll link to in the description below. But for now, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.